Okay, we're going to get started. Can you hear me? Testing? Better? Okay. All right, so I am truly delighted to introduce our next speaker because it's a person that I work with at the Michigan Humane Society. CJ Bentley has been with us for nearly 20 years. She started as a volunteer in the dog training and behavior department and then was hired as that department's program manager and currently serves as Michigan Humane Society's Senior Director of Operations. She is a past executive director of the Association of Professional Trainers and is a current instructor for an animal-assisted therapy online program at Oakland University. CJ also teaches dog obedience classes and offers private dog training at Canine College in Farmington Hills and is a published author, radio, and TV spokesperson on dog behavior and training. I've worked at the Michigan Humane Society for many years, and I would occasionally run into CJ. But for the last 3 years, we've been working very closely together on operations, and I think I know her well enough now that I could really embarrass her in this introduction. But I'm just going to say that it has really been a privilege and a pleasure to work with her. And here she is.
Okay, so I'm really loud, and I probably don't even need this microphone. So can you guys all hear me okay? Yeah? Pretty good? Okay, I'll get louder. Trust me, I get kind of animated. And I was really panicky right there for a minute, because Dr. Cece's right. We have worked together for a while, so thank you for not embarrassing me. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is temperament testing in dogs, right? As Dr. Cece said, I work at the Michigan Humane Society, and one of the responsibilities that falls into my area is the temperament testing of dogs that come into our facility and are looking for new homes. Now, temperament testing, especially at the Michigan Humane Society, is kind of like, it's like a lightning bolt sort of thing, and it causes a lot of controversy amongst members of the community and other rescue groups. So I'm really pleased to be able to kind of go through some of this with you guys today. The way this presentation works, I'm going to walk you through and show you how we do the temperament test that we do at MHS. I've got a ton of video. I hope you can see them okay. We used a stunt dog, because what I like to do is show you the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. Because unfortunately, I think a lot of the controversy and the dislike about temperament testing stems from the fact that some people do it wrong, right? And some people don't understand really why we do what we do. So hopefully, this will give you guys a little insight into the world of temperament testing and how and why we do it. I have my dogs here today. Some of you have stopped by to say hi. Thank you for those of you who did. Rogue is a 3-year-old red Doberman who, everyone who stopped by, thank you so much. He is a natural Doberman, right? So he's got the big long tail and the floppy ears. I adopted him. Dr. Cece went 3 years ago when he was a skeleton, skin and bone, like 7-week-old puppy, said, CJ, he needs weight gain. Okay? So apparently it's 3 years later and I'm still putting on those pounds. I don't know when she's going to tell me he's fat enough to go up for adoption. The other dog, a number of you have stopped by to ask about him. His name is Jammer. I just got him, so any of his training foibles are totally not my fault yet, because he's pretty new to me. He is what they call a Tennessee Mountain Feist, and when my staff told me that's what they were going to put on his adoption paperwork, I told them, please don't, because I don't need us making up more breeds, that's just silly. And they said, no, it's real. So I looked it up. It is in fact a UKC recognized breed, not AKC. They are typically bred south of the Mason-Dixon line as hunting dogs. So they're kind of like beagles down there, and they have way too many of them, and they have many of them that need homes. And so he came to us from Tennessee. He's a little over a year old. And like I said, I just got them. So any misbehaviors, we'll just blame on Dr. Cece. Okay. So this is me. Dr. Cece already kindly introduced me. I am the Senior Director of Operations for MHS right now, and the rest of it you kind of already know. Oh, but one thing, you guys all saw Martin right earlier with Quinn, and I think he did a great job of going through the training that the dogs in the prison system, right, the training that they received. Some people were asking how dogs were selected to participate. We are one of those organizations that selects dogs to participate, and this is how we do it. So this kind of dovetails really nicely into Martin's program and how the dogs are selected for that as well. Okay? So what we're going to talk about today is technique. We are not going to talk about diagnosis, okay? Because that's when the fun happens and the sparks start flying, right? And I don't think my stuffed animal in the videos, he passes every time, okay? So we don't have, and that was another reason I wanted to use a stuffed toy, because it's not, this presentation is about how we do what we do and why we do it. It's not, I don't want everyone to obsess over, oh, look at his eyes, look at his tail, look at his ears. Does he fail? That's not what this is about. Michigan Humane Society doesn't necessarily just do this temperament test for a pass-fail, right? We have a color code system, and we like to pride ourselves on getting to know the families and making really good matches, right, with the animals. So we go through the temperament test. When we're done, we know a little bit more about the animal and can better place them in the appropriate home. Now, if they try to take our face off during the temperament test, that's a different story, but that's not why we do the test. Okay, anybody here, except for my friends at the Department of Agriculture who have already heard this from me, know what Asilomar Accords are? Yes, no, not so, yes. Oh, okay, cat doesn't count. MHS employees, you cannot comment. Okay, so Asilomar Accords were developed in 2004 in a city called Asilomar, California. Okay, that's where that name comes from. There is a lack of reporting amongst humane organizations and animal welfare groups, right? The companion animal type that we are, like the Michigan Humane Society. And so no one has any statistics. We're not related. Okay, people think we are all the time. Michigan Humane Society has 3 full-service campuses, right, which is a veterinary hospital connected to an animal sheltering organization, right? 1 in Detroit, 1 in Rochester Hills, 1 in Westland, and then we've got a boutique facility in Sterling Heights in a Petco where we do strictly adoptions, and we do a ton of them, over 150 a month, just at that Petco location. We love that location. Well, other than those 3.5, the rest of Macomb Humane Society, Livingston Humane Society, we're not related. So to try to get an idea throughout the country, how many animals are losing their lives for lack of homes? How many animals are losing their lives due to medical issues, behavioral issues? We don't know, because we're not related, and we weren't gathering the data. So the group that met in Asilomar, California, came up with definitions. They're called the Asilomar Accords, and those are the buckets. Now my dogs are playing. Sorry, you can hear them. They are healthy, treatable, and treatable actually has 2 categories. We won't get into that. In general, they want all of us to classify our animals as healthy, treatable, or untreatable. Okay? It is pretty subjective with regards to how you put animals in those buckets. Basically, healthy is healthy. They come in, they're physically healthy, they're behaviorally healthy. I look at them, I mess with them, they're great. I put them up for adoption, they go home. Those are healthy. Those are not the majority of the dogs that come in to see the Michigan Humane Society folks, though, right? So a treatable animal is an animal that the average person in your community would provide medical care for or be able to handle behaviorally. So imagine being at the Michigan Humane Society, where we have one of our shelters is right off of Grand Boulevard there in Animal Cops, right in Detroit. And then I have my facility in Rochester Hills in Oakland County. The average member of those 2 communities is quite different. So it's even a challenge for us. to decide what category animals go into on that scale, okay? Untreatable are animals who are medically suffering or are so behaviorally, usually aggression, right, that they are unsafe to place in a home, okay? Does that mean that every aggressive animal is untreatable? No, it does not. Because I gotta tell you, there are some chihuahuas walking around here who would like to take the face off of somebody if they're walking around in a purse and someone goes to say hi to them and they growl and snap. That does not make them an untreatable animal because, you know, that's what they do. Okay? So, just needed to fill you in a little bit. And it's important, too, to understand these because there's a lot of stuff flying around the internet right now. I think over the weekend I was called a murderer. Doesn't really make me feel that great. And people toss those healthy, treatable, and untreatable terms around without really knowing what they mean. Okay? So when I tell you that the Michigan Humane Society puts up for adoption 100% of every treatable dog, healthy and untreatable dog that I get, 100% of them go up for adoption. And that's true. Okay? 100% of healthy cats that come in to me get placed up for adoption, and that's true. I wish I was at 100% of treatable cats as well. I'm not, but I'm working on it. So when people start throwing around terms and no-kill and what the definitions are, it'll help you guys to understand those. You'll be able to make much better decisions and come to your own conclusions if you understand how people use or should be using those terms. Okay. The Michigan Humane Society uses a personality assessment tool called the PAT test. It is ours, okay? We have spent years and years and years and years and years tweaking it, developing it, making it fit our environment the best that it possibly can. Again, considering the different demographics of all of our facilities. We started with Sue Sternberg's Assess-A-Pet. That was probably the very first temperament test that actually was commonized and taught to people across the country. Some of it worked for us, some of it didn't. We revise it every year, and we drive our evaluators crazy, don't we? Because yes, Kat says yes, we do. Because every year we come back and go, okay, now we're going to do it this way, now we're going to change this part, and it's all done based on, we do the test, we place the animal in the home, we follow up with the animal in the home from our adopter support program, and then we go back to see how well we did the test, right? So we revise it every year, but the basic sections remain the same. Okay, and we're going to go over those sections, and I'll show you what we are testing for in each of the sections. Okay. One of the other things that we bug our evaluators about is to do this test in order. It is very important that the test be done in the order that we created it. One of the reasons I brought my dogs today, we'll go through this. We'll look at the video. If I have time, I'll bring them out, and we can mess with them a little bit. They are my dogs, so I hope they're good for me. They might not be, though. You never know. But since my dogs know me, I could do any part of the test for you and it'd be okay because we have a relationship, right? But when a dog that we don't know comes into our facility, you'll see, we design the test so that it starts with kind of a hi, nice to meet you, kind of a handshake kind of thing, and then we progress kind of to like the hugging and kissing part. Right? You're not going to I'm not. I have big personal space issues. Everyone makes fun of me. I work at a place that is very emotional, and there's a lot of hugging, except for me. Nobody hugs me. People are afraid to hug me because I'm not a hugger. Right? You guys are really good right there where you are. Okay? So if somebody walked right up to me and was like in my face, like right here, what do they call? I don't watch Seinfeld really, but like a close talker, right? And they're right up here, and that is not appropriate, and you may need to push them or step back. Does that mean you have a bad temperament or you're a bad person? No, right? It just means you need a little more time. And that's why we did the test the way we did. Sometimes dogs need a little time to warm up to you before you start looking in their mouth, right? As veterinarians and vet students, you know, you got to take a minute to get to know the animal before you start messing with them. And that's why the test is in the order that it is. We designed it because we want to know as much about the dog as we can before he goes up for adoption. So, we're going to go section by section in order. We're going to show you videos of the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And I use my stunt dog, and I am also not a big fan of HSUS, but no animals were harmed during the making of my video, okay? And we're going to focus on the technique. And I got to tell you, I do a lot of lectures. I love doing them. And making this one, we should have like the making of, because the bloopers were pretty funny. It took forever, though, because that damn stuffed dog wouldn't behave himself. Okay, so test 1, kennel test. This test nobody gets. Nobody understands why we do this. We learned this, 5 years ago. You know, the Michigan Humane Society for many, many years did not put pit bulls up for adoption, okay? Because of where they come from in the city and the gene pool there, and they were tough to deal with. But then we said that's ridiculous because we don't believe in breed bans. And so how can we not believe in a breed ban but not put them up for adoption? That's contradictory. So we best start putting them up for adoption, which, has it been 5 years, 6 years? 5 or 6 years we've been putting pit bulls up for adoption. And before we did, we went out to Bad Rap out in California and learned how they temperament test their dogs. And so we took some of that stuff and incorporated it into our test. And this is one of the things we learned from them. Basically, I want to know how social or forgiving the dog is. So, if I do something that irritates the dog, I want to know how quickly he forgives me. So what we do is we do the easiest, simplest thing that really isn't going to harm him in any way. We stare at them, we get to know them, they come up to the front of the cage, and we blow a puff of air in their face. We go, that's it. Some dogs will stay right there, wag their tail, try to lick you, go, sweet, you had a donut for breakfast, that's great, you know, and they're, so, right, no, they are not offended at all. Some of them go, wait a minute. Now, we were kind of developing something here, and you violated my trust by scaring me, and they might back up a little bit, and then you can talk to them, and if they come back up, tail wagging, okay, that dog forgave me for violating his or her trust, right? Some dogs will run. We've got, a lot of our kennels have the guillotine door, so there's the front, and they can get outside, go to the back, the other side of the door. Some dogs will run back there and never come back up. They will never come back up because I violated that trust, and they will not forgive me. Now, does that mean that dog fails? No. But would I place that dog with kids? How often do children violate the trust of the animals that they live with? And it doesn't mean the dog's going to bite the kid. And it doesn't mean any of that. All it means is that dog is probably not going to be super comfortable in an erratic environment. If I had my way, I'd place him with, me. Because I'm not normally erratic, and my life pretty much plods along, right? So, let's take a look. We first start by staring at the dog, and this is all done in the kennel. And everybody in this room, I guarantee you, everybody in this room knows that when a patient canine comes into your office, you do not stand like this and bend over and stare directly into their eyes. That is a really bad idea. So we do that because it's a really bad idea. And actually, I just want to see how the dog is going to handle confrontation. So, correct way, side to the kennel, right? About 2 feet from the kennel door, stare directly at the dog, hold it for about 10 seconds, stay side facing, okay? For some of the dogs too, we'll even kneel down. Okay? So there is no wrong way there because I just did it for you. Okay? So the next thing we do is we take our hand, we place it along the bars of the kennel. We want the dog to get to know me, right? And everyone says, hold your hand out and let the dog sniff you. We could talk about how silly that is some other time. But what we do is we hold our hand down. There's a little stuffed dog in there. You can't see him. And basically we move it around. And why do I move it around? I move it around because I want to know if he's going to follow me. I want to know if he's going to sniff my hand, and I move my hand over here, does he go, oh, cool, a person hand. I'm going to follow you, person. Maybe that hand will pet me. That's really great. What if he doesn't follow my hand? If he doesn't follow my hand, what does that mean? No, it doesn't mean he flunks the test. It's just interesting. It's interesting to take that, mark that down, and then when we get to the next part of the test where I'm actually petting him, does he like that? Well, if he doesn't like it, then I'm not going to put him with a lady that wants to carry him around in her purse. And we get phone calls, right? You guys know that we do. We get phone calls, right, from people who want to know if we have dogs that can go in their purse. All right, hold on, I'll get it. What's it doing to me? How come it's not going? Okay. See, I told him, I said, he promised he would make this as easy as he possibly could. This is like the third time I've done it, and I'm not getting it right. Okay, what did you push? Okay, the button. Funny. Okay, so what you really can't see, right? All I want to do when I do the hand test, see, I grabbed his ear, don't do that. All I want to do when I do the hand test, I want him to smell my hand, and I want to see if he'll follow my hand. I don't want to stick my fingers in there. I don't want to see if he's going to chew on me. I don't want to grab him and pull on his ear. All I want to do is see if he will follow my hand. Then again, that's not for pass or fail. That's to see what kind of dog he is and what kind of home he'd like. So here's the puff. Now I've already kind of gotten to know him, right? That's it. That's the puff. I can't do the puff the wrong way because there isn't really a wrong way to do the puff. So I look at him, I bend down, I greet him appropriately, I let him sniff my hand, I move it around a little bit. He's right up. Usually they're at the front of the cage, not always. If they are, right, I give a little puff, so then he's not expecting that, and I like to see what he does, okay? Then we go on to part 2. This is the sociability. So now I bring him out of the cage, right, and I want to see how social or people-focused he is. Really super important, okay? My example that I give people, if you have a significant other in your world, right, that significant other maybe has some irritating habits, but we don't, but they do, and you probably forgive those irritating habits because you are very fond of your significant other, right? It's really important to me, if so many of my adopters are families with children, many of them are first-time adopters as well, first-time pet-owning families. My favorite is when people come in and I say, what kind of dog do you want? And they go, I want a really smart one that I can train. And I'm thinking, yeah, no, you don't. I don't want a smart dog. I want a dog dumber than me that's going to lay at my feet while I watch television and do whatever I say. I don't want a dog, when I ask him to do something, to go, I'm not really sure that's a good idea. Let's talk about it. I don't need a dog that's smarter than me, okay? So I really want to know how people-focused the dog is, because to me, the more people-focused that dog is, the more forgiving and malleable he's going to be, right? So when I do my color codes, if he's super people-focused and there's not a whole heck of a lot I'm going to do that's going to upset his world, then he gets a green circle, right? He's going to be a green, because I like to put the more people-focused dogs with less experienced owners, okay? So first what we do is we bring him into the room and we ignore him for a minute, right? I want to see what look how good he is. So I just am going to ignore him, hold the end of the leash, and totally ignore him. So I want to see what he does. Now, some dogs, and I can say this because I can, we all know that breeds have, there are some breed-specific traits, right? My Doberman, for those of you who have come over and said hi to him, he is what my girlfriends call a skittish freak. He is very nervous in new environments. This is a big deal for him, and everyone, thank you, because you've all greeted him very appropriately, and he's handling it very well. But as Dr. Cece and I were talking about breed-specific traits, genetically he's predisposed to be wary of strangers, right? So when we talk about this ignoring and whether or not, if I stand there with the dog on the end of the leash and he sniffs around and looks at the room and never bothers to look at me. I'm holding on to his leash and he never bothers to look at me. See, this is not a judgment, but a lot of northern breeds they're like cats in dog suits and chow chows, right? They may never look at you. You're holding the leash and you're there, but to them they'd rather sniff the floor and find out who was in there before them. And so those dogs are a little more environmentally focused. It doesn't mean anything, except if the person wants a dog to follow them from room to room and be in the bathroom with them when they go to the bathroom, this is just not the dog I would pair with them. Okay? So, to ignore the dog, I stand there, I hold the leash, I see. Does he look at me? If he looks at me, I'm going to talk to him and tell him he's a good boy. If he doesn't look at me, I'm just marking down that he's a little more environmentally focused. This is the wrong way to do the ignore test. Okay, so I think you guys, he's such a good boy. I think you guys can see why that is, right? And again, has anybody here done the Dognition? Has anybody done Dognition on, no? Okay, there's this really cool website, Dognition, and Brian Hare, who's like one of my favorite behaviorists ever of all time, and he's kind of cute too. He has worked with some researchers behaviorally, right, and he's come up with this test, and it's called Dognition. I think it's like $28, something like that. And it gives you a bunch of these little fun things you do with your dog, and you can go on the computer and you type in like how your dog handled each thing, like put a treat under 2 cups and see which cup your dog picks. And I'm such an idiot. I'm like, I think I know it's like pass fail, and I'm trying to get my dog to do certain answers. And if he's not finding the treat under the cup, or if he's not looking where I'm pointing, or whatever the test is, I'm like trying to cheat, because I want him to pass. And then I get to the end of the test and I find out I totally screwed it up, because it's not about pass or fail. It's about how your particular dog learns. There's like 7 or 8 different categories. It is really cool, and I had a blast doing it with Rogie, and then I'll do it with Jammer as soon as he listens to me. But we'll go through it. It's super, super fun. And all this stuff that I thought Rogie was flunking really was cool, because it turns out that he was off the charts on memory. He has a better memory than like 90% of the canines who have, participated in this little thing. And so some of his reactions were different because he didn't need me to show him. He could remember. It was really super cool. All right, then we pet them. So we talked about getting to know them slowly, right? And now we're going to go ahead and pet them. And, not the wrong way, I'm not. First, I'm going to pet them the right way. And this is important because what I want to see, right, that's all I'm going to do. Whoop, there we go. Now some dogs, and I'll do it again. Look at me. See, it's like I know it's coming. And then I'll do it again. And he's a very good dog, but what he doesn't do, he doesn't respond, right? And some dogs are like that. No, well, yeah, but some dogs are like that. I wasn't expecting him to respond. It's okay. But if you pet him, some dogs, if you pet them, if you pet one of my dogs, well, if I pet them, Rogie would be scared of you. But if I pet Rogie, he would come right up to me, whack me with his foot. He'd want me to pet him some more. Jammer would jump on me and want petting. They lay on me, right? Some dogs, you pet them and they walk away from you. Some dogs, you pet them and they shake you off. Like, you know what? Not only was I not very fond of that, but I really don't want you to do it again. It's fascinating how dogs react to just a simple backstroke, and how they react, we document it. This is the wrong way to do the petting. You don't want to get all in their face, right? Because I want the dog to react, just like that cool Dognition thing. I want a minute to see how the dog reacts. I want to read the dog's body language. Okay? Now we make it a little harder. I'm going to sit and I'm going to ignore him. Look at me ignoring. Aren't I a good ignorer? And he's kind of ignoring me too. That's it. So I'm closer down now to his level, right? Before I was standing, that's a different relationship. Then I'm going to sit down, be a little closer to the dog's level, and see what he does. Okay? Some dogs will climb in your lap. Some dogs will try to get away from you. Okay? Some dogs, like that one, will just stand there. This is the wrong way to do the sit. See how tight? See, you can't, you gotta let the dog, I love coming here because it's fascinating to me, and it's a whole world that I never knew existed, that you all are under, and with the pigs and the cows and all the stuff that you guys do agriculturally too, you're under the same sort of pressure, public pressure that we are, and it's hard. It's very hard. We oftentimes are forced to make decisions that we don't necessarily agree with because of public pressure. So, I mean, it kind of stinks for all of us all the way around, but it is kind of nice to know we're not in it alone. And it's really super important when you talk about letting animals giving them the freedom to behave the way they want to behave. And so by me holding that leash really super tight, I was not allowing that dog, if he wanted to walk away from me while I was sitting in the chair and sniff something, okay. Holding him there and going, oh, he loves to be by people. Well, no, okay, you can't hold him there and then tell people that that's what he likes. Then you'd place him in a home that wasn't appropriate for him. Then we step it up a notch. Now we talk to them. We can be a little excited, right? And a lot of dogs at this stage will jump up into your lap. They like people. They like the communication, right? They get excited by it. Some dogs will walk away. Again, just something to make note of. Here's the wrong way to talk to them, right? And a lot of times we do that because we really see it. And what you don't want is now for the notes on that dog to say, loves to, be by people and cuddle with them, because I think he was being coerced, okay? Okay, so now we've gone through the process. We know the dog a little better because now we're going to do something more invasive, right? Now we're going to look at his teeth. And the reason they pick teeth, and those of you who have examined dogs in your practices, right, it's not painful, but it is invasive. So it's something that we're able to do to the dog that doesn't hurt him, but isn't like I'm petting and hugging on you, right? So again, I want to see how tolerant or forgiving the dog is, okay? And again, the order of how these happen is really important. All right, so here's how I'm going to check the teeth. And we've changed this a million times. So I'm going to come up to him, to the side. Isn't he cute? And I'm going to open up. See, you can't see his teeth. And I'm going to hold his lip just for a little bit, and then I'm going to let it go. Okay? Now, originally, we would do it 5 times. The reason that we did it 5 times is because maybe the first time they're like, okay, whatever. You go to do it again, and they're like, hey. And then the third time, now they know what's coming. And now they know a little bit better how to avoid what you're going to do. Or if they really don't like it, they may try to, some of them roll on the ground, some of them will snap at you. We are talking about right now not doing it 5 times, only doing it once, because really who's going to look at the dog's mouth 5 times? We want to make it as easy for them to be comfortable through the test as we possibly can. So if we really want to do it the wrong way, then I'm straddling him, I'm pinning him, I'm fighting with him, or I'm standing in front of him, which is hugely threatening. I'm bending over him, the front, and I'm making sure he stays still for me. We don't correct. We don't do any of that. We used to. If we look at their teeth and they get fidgety, we go, hey, cut that out, so we can look. We don't do it anymore. I just want to see how the dog's going to react. Okay? Now we get to our handling portion. This is where we do things that owners do. Okay? Owners are going to touch their dogs. So we touch their feet, their tail. We kind of pull them along with a collar, right? Because a lot of times we have a lot of reports of people getting bitten by their own dogs. They reach down and grab the collar to try to move the dog one way or another. We also do a little towel, right? Especially now. They got snowballs in their feet. If it's rainy, you got to towel them off, touch their feet, right? And then we hug them. But we move the hug way later in the test, because hug, you got to know me pretty well before you can hug me. Okay? So here's the feet. This is the right way that we do the feet, right? And again, we're to the side of the dog. I'm not leaning over the front of them, okay? And I'm going to get to know them first. I'm going to let them know I'm coming. I'm going to reach down, grab his feet, and I may just mess with his pads a little bit. One of the tests that I don't really care for has you hold the foot and pinch down between the pads so that it causes the dog a little bit of pain. We don't do that. I think that's too invasive, and I don't need to see his reaction to pain. I just want to see how he's going to react to having his feet held, right? So this is not what you're going to do, right? I'm straddling over the top of him. I'm not letting him know I'm coming. I just reach down, grab his foot, and there's my little, see, I don't do that. I'm not going to pinch down between his pads until it hurts him. We won't say what test that is. Okay, so this is the tail. And again, for kids, am I going to place a dog that's sensitive with his tail with a bunch of little toddlers? If I would make sure they know, right, if I decide to do that, we stroke down the back, give a little tug of the tail, right, nothing really bad. And this is the part that my cameraman had it. So this is the right way, right? So I'm going to stroke down his body with a little teeny tug on the tail. That's it. Okay, and this is where my cameraman kind of went crazy on me. So this is how you don't do it. Look at him, he did slow-mo. He made it slow motion on me. Ah, Jeff. Okay, and here's the collar that we talked about, right? So, because a lot of times, people will reach down and grab their dog's collar and pull him along. See how good he is? That's all we do. And we'll talk to them, too, as we're doing it. We want them to be comfortable. This isn't like an exam. They don't have to be nervous about it. And this is the wrong way. We want them to walk with us. We don't want to drag them. Okay? Because it all is about how they're fine. Oh, Dr. Cece's in the pen with the crazy dogs. Thank you. You know, I have a lot of veterinarians here if they ingest a foreign body. Okay, I won't tell you about my other Doberman that ate a corn cob, $4,000, and emergency surgery on Easter Sunday later. Okay, so this is the towel, right? And this is a big one because everybody, right, they're going to dry their dog off with the towel. So I'm going to put it on them, and I'm just going to dry him. Okay, wipe him gently. And see, now some dogs, hey guys, some dogs will grab onto the towel and play tug of war with it. Okay, if they do, just something to make note of. Doesn't mean anything one way or the other. This is the wrong way. And, you know, Jeff and I, wait till we get to the food bowl part. I had to tape the thing in his mouth. Jeff and I had a really good time making the videos. And I do really like this presentation because I do think it's important that people understand that the test is not designed to make these dogs behave badly or flunk. It really is designed just to get to know as much about them as we can. So we then hug them, right? And we do the safe hug, okay? We can pet them, we can talk to them. And this is where we like to have two people because while you're hugging the dog, right, you can't really see their eyes. You can't see if their tail's tucked or not. You can't tell. You can feel how tense they are, right? If you all who have had to hold dogs for blood draws and stuff, right? And you can feel them if they're really tense or if they'll relax a little bit. We had talked about taking this out of our temperament test because it does happen. The hug does happen during a blood draw. But then we decided they're super nervous between the tourniquet and the needles and all that kind of stuff. We figured maybe the dog would be a little more relaxed doing it this way. So we left it in the test. Okay, so this is the wrong way to do the hug. Okay, you don't hug them like that. Now, that's how their families will hug them, but we don't hug them that way during the temperament test. Okay, here's a fun one. We test for arousal. I want to know how excitable or playful the dog is. Okay, we actually get a lot of phone calls and some dogs return for being too hyper. So what we want to try to do is decide how quickly they get excited and how quickly they can bring themselves down, which is one of the problems we have, right, with our pit bull friends. They tend to go from 0 to 90 really quickly and have a hard time bringing themselves back down. Is it awful? It can be, but not really if the person is prepared for it. We got an email today from Thanks, guys. We got an email today from a gentleman who wants a hyper crazy dog. And so we've given him a list of like 25. Okay, so playtime. Okay, so I have a toy. I'm going to show him the toy. Get him to take the toy. He won't take it. See, he's tipping over. So get him to take the toy, and if he takes the toy, then I'm going to play with him a little bit. 1s and 2s, that's how we classify our pitty bull dogs. If they're pit bulls, we play with them a particular way because a lot of them really like to tug, and it's not a bad thing. It's just something that we need to know about them, right? When I notice their play style, I want to have a good understanding of how they like to play. This is not how we do the test. I have a lot of folks who think that the way we test a dog's arousal is to shove on them and throw our hands in their mouths and push them around and stuff. That's not how we do it because I don't want to know how they behave there. Okay. We tested for how forgiving the dog is. We tested the play style, ability to handle stress, okay? My spider. Okay, so there's a huge difference, right? You guys know between behavior and temperament, right? Behaviors are things we can teach or unteach. Some of it takes a little work, but behaviors are things we can change. Temperament is more about the personality of the dog, who the dog is. And some people believe that you can change it. Okay, I don't know about you guys, New Year's right around the corner, and I'm going to go ahead and make some New Year's resolutions of things I want to change in myself. These are things I personally want to change, and I guarantee you by the first week of January, I will have flushed them all down the toilet. It is very difficult, even for you. You may make that commitment. These are things I want to change about myself, my personality. How successful are you? It's hard. And as hard as it is to change yourself, imagine how hard it is to change the personality of a creature who doesn't even want to change. I can't change and I want to. Imagine trying to convince a dog to change his temperament when what he's doing is perfectly fine in his book, right? So temperament to me, very, very difficult to change. How the animal reacts to certain situations is how they react to certain situations. Some dogs, when something scares them, they run away. Some dogs, when something scares them, they bite. Okay? And changing that is very, very tricky. Okay, so now we get to food bowl. This is the big one that most people have a problem with. The right way to do food bowl. Dog is tethered to the wall loosely, just in case he has a problem. We're going to give him some food. Okay? Now, most dogs eat the food. If they don't eat the food, we don't do the test right away, right? I show them the hand. It's not my hand because I'd like to keep all my fingers. And then I pet him with the hand, okay, so he's not freaked out by the hand. And then when he tries to eat the food, I say, hey, can I have that? And I pull the bowl away from the dog. That's as hard as it is. That's it. That's the test. Okay? I'm not sure. People think that the hand is like some sort of a torture device. This is not how we do the test. Oh, there he's eating the food, and I poke at him. This is what people tell me I do. People tell me that dogs who fail food bowls because I do that to them. That's not what I do. I don't beat dogs with a fake hand and poke them in the eye to get them to snap at the food bowl. I actually hate it when dogs react over the food bowl. It makes me really sad. Some of them I can place, depending on how vicious they are. Some of them I cannot. Oh, I did it again. Okay? Once we do food bowl, we do rawhide. Because there's a big controversy between dogs who guard their food and dogs who guard everything else. If you go on the ASPCA's website, they will tell you that food bowl guarders, right, that we can fix them and they should all be placed up for adoption, and it's just my environment that makes them bad, and that may be. And Dr. Cece and I are working on that together to put a little study together to let us know how accurate the food bowl test is in our shelter. I am much more likely to put a dog up for adoption that guards the food bowl than I am a dog who guards the rawhide. Why? Because a dog who guards the food bowl is, if that's all they guard, That's manageable to me. How many of you guys lived with a dog when you were a kid that when he was eating, you didn't go near him? Yeah, right? Quite a few people. So there are families who can manage their worlds. When Fluffy's eating, we're going to put Fluffy in a crate. When Fluffy's having dinner, don't go in the kitchen. That is okay for some people. What's not okay for most people, though, is dogs who guard other objects because there's no way to manage it. It could be anything. I had a client a few years ago who came to me with stitches all over her hand. It was a Bichon, and she had lived with that Bichon for 2 years and had taken, that dog would go in the trash, dumpster dive. She took chicken bones out of the dog's mouth. One day, they had new wood chips delivered in their backyard. And the dog ran outside, grabbed a wood chip, and ran into its crate. And she reached into the crate to grab the wood chip, and literally, I'm not kidding, she probably had 60 stitches in her hand. And she was shocked because you could take a chicken bone. That's why this is scarier to me than food bowl, because it's what the dog thinks is important. And I can't get into their brain. And that little Bichon did not feel like a chicken bowl was important, but I'll be darned, that wood chip was very important to that dog, and he wasn't going to give it to her. So, for rawhide, we use rawhide or pig ear because that's something most dogs find appealing. We give them a blanket because many dogs like to lie down on the blanket. See him hold that? That took a long time to train. So I give him the pig ear and I let him chew on it. See, there he is. He's chewing on it, okay? It looks like tape, but he's really chewing on it. And I really wait until he's owned it. It's his. He's chewing on it. He's already met the hand. So I can pat him with the hand. He's not as freaked out with the hand. And then I'm going to say, drop it, because some dogs know that. And I'm going to take the rawhide from him. This was the tape was kind of sticky. There we go. Oh, that's me. So that's all I do. Okay? If the dog bites or we've got a set of hands with fingers missing on them. If the dog tries to bite, we're done with the test. We're done with that part of the test. Okay? This is not how we do the rawhide test. I don't poke at the dog. I don't whack at the dog. I don't poke him in the mouth or the eye. I don't agitate him. All I want to do is see if he'll let me take the rawhide. That's it. And I don't reach down with my bare hand and grab it, although many of my evaluators do. She's like, no, I never did. But you saw people do it. Yeah, Okay. Last part we do are our meet and greets. I kind of know how the dog is with me. Now I want to see how he is with everybody else, right? So, meet some strangers, meet some other dogs, and let's see how they do. And again, if I'm going to place him in a home with other dogs, I want to be able to say, hey, he got along with these other dogs here or he didn't. Okay? Okay, strangers. This is my appropriate stranger. We knock on the door. The stranger comes up like a normal person. Kind of walks up and says hi. She was like, what do you want me to do, CJ? She was so funny. She's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I just walk up to the dog. Can I pet your dog? Pet the dog. There we go. Not hard. Okay? There was a video a while ago of a stranger test where the stranger was dressed like a witch. For real. No, this is real. And had a stick and walked into the room dressed with a spooky hat and the kid banging the stick on the ground. The dog tried to climb out a window of the temperament test room. He was so scared. I know, it's bad, guys. This is the way we don't do the stranger test. We don't make, big fuss. We don't raise our arms. See? They don't like it either. That's my Tennessee Mountain Feist who sounds like a seal when he plays. Okay? And here's our dog. This is pretty simple. Meeting dogs. Look, they look the same. They're litter mates. And the leashes are very loose. Right? Nice and loose, and they can, because what do? Dogs don't walk up to each other and go, hey, how you doing? Right? They do that. They sniff each other's rear ends, and so you got to give them enough loose leash so that they can greet each other the right way. Okay? It's all about allowing them to display the behavior that they would normally display. Okay? So, to do it wrong, Wrong, tight leash, very bad. If the dog's hiding behind me, I'm not going to step out of the way and go play, go play. If you take your dog to a dog park, don't do that. If your dog doesn't want to play at a dog park, just take him home. I don't like parties. People don't make me go to those. Not every dog wants to be mobbed. Those two, my two, Jammer will go and play with flipping anybody. I take him to daycare. He plays with everybody. Rogue, Jammy, don't do that. He's ripping up his bed. Rogue won't play with anybody. If a dog gets near him, he snaps at him. Right? Now he'll go sometimes with Jammer. And the other day, the guy at daycare was so funny. He said, "Oh, we had a breakthrough today. Rogue will play with Jammer." Jammer ran off to play with another dog. He said, "I don't think Rogue noticed at first it wasn't Jammer," and he accidentally played for a minute. And then he went, "Oh, crap! That's not Jammer." Okay? So, always we try to make sure that we learn as much about the dog as we can when it comes to meeting other dogs. We don't ever force them to play. We keep the leashes on, but if they seem to be okay, we'll take the leashes off. Don't keep one on leash and one off leash. That's not good. If they hide behind you, then they don't like to play. Don't place them with other dogs. And, yeah. So here's this. This is the resource is me. Okay? So that is my email address. Any of you can email me at any time with any questions you may have, or if you want more information on temperament test, or if you want to talk to me about different ideas for the temperament test, because we're always tweaking it and changing it, and I would love to do a research study on the validity of my test. So if anybody is interested in doing any research on validating a temperament test, let me know. And that's what I have. And so that's my time, right?
No, you guys have time to do something with that feist dog if you like.
With my feist dog?
Whichever dog you want. Actually, your dog.
Really? Well, I didn't know. Who knew? Oh yeah, if you have an exam, you should go. My son is 18 and I know how this works. You gotta go. You have an exam. I'm a mom. You gotta go. It's tomorrow. I would be too. I'd be sitting here studying. I would be listening. Okay, I'm going to take, can I just take Danny? Okay, come on, Danny. Come on, Danny. Jim. Should I wait till they all go and just keep talking? Hey, Shereen, can I have the leash? Okay, so normally, if I was testing Jammer, there would not be all the commotion about, right? Because we try to do it in a room where there's not a lot of commotion. And if I wanted to start with the test, and I wanted to just stand here and wait, right, to see what he would do. Now, because he knows me, it's going to be a little funky because he doesn't know all these interesting smells that I'm sure are on the floor, including like cow and pig and stuff like that, right? So he's not smelled that before. So if I stand here and I ignore my own dog for 60 seconds, right, and I wonder, you know, what he's doing, he's totally ignoring me. Which is, Oh, he's getting his picture taken. Sorry, he's getting his picture taken. Okay? So I wait. I do have to keep him near me, so he is on a leash. But obviously, now, knowing what we know about his background, is anybody surprised that at this point he appears to be a little more environmentally focused? Right? As a hunting dog, does anybody find it surprising that he's spending a lot of time sniffing the ground, looking around, not really paying any attention to the person on the end of the leash? Now, I wonder if it was a different person or someone that he didn't know, if he would find that novel and want to check it out. But here, all he wants to do is sniff. So, if I trick him, if we try now, what happens if I pet him? See what he does. Hey baby, he's a good boy. So he's going to come back to me and want more petting. So while he is environmentally focused, he loves to be petted. And I can say that living with this dog, that's absolutely true. He lays on me to sleep. I honestly think, and is the young lady here, oh, right there, who thinks she might have his sister. So, is that bizarre? She's like, hey, and I'm like, wow, yeah, he did have a sister, and yeah, that timing is right, and yeah, I'll know if I see her picture. I think he would absolutely be horrific as an only dog. I think it is very fortunate that he ended up in a home with another dog, because he will lay on poor Rogie. He can't stand it. He gets up and walks away. Okay, so because I know him, I can skip some of the stuff, right? And how would he be if I wanted to look at his teeth? Ooh, those are beautiful choppers. And see how he goes, I don't really like you doing that, Mom. Okay? Jammer is a very interesting dog. He will give you a hard time the first time you try something on him. And then you try it again, it's a little easier. And you try it again, it's a little easier. He was at the vet with me for the first time, I don't know, probably 3 weeks ago, I guess. He needed a checkup. And I said, you know, they're going to trim his nails. And I said, okay, the first couple are going to be hard, but just keep at it. And that's what they said. The first couple, he was a little poo. And by the time they were done, he was a breeze. And you just let him do it. So he's a little different. Some dogs, when they're agitated with something, it's more agitating to them, and they try to prevent you from doing it. It gets easier with them. Not sure why that is, but he's a very malleable dog, right? You can do things to him that you couldn't really do with other dogs. You want to get Rogie? We'll do a dog intro. How fun would that be? Because they know each other. And Rogie picked Jammer. Rogue doesn't like all other dogs. He's very afraid. And the only reason Jammer got to stay was he was the only foster dog that Rogie actually liked. So, we have them both on a leash. It won't be loose. Pretend it's loose. And we let them eat, and here's how it goes. So, what do you think? Is that good or bad? Is that... Because you'd say, oh, look at that little one. He's such a pain. Look at him. He's fighting his... And you would maybe say, by this interaction, that the big dog was not overly happy with the little dog until you wait a minute and the big dog whacks the little dog in the head. Yes, ma'am? Hey, that's a great question. High-low erection, right, happens right here and right here. And it doesn't mean, see, I love this, right? So when they get a little nervous or overly excited or overly stimulated, the hair goes up. It's not a bad thing, but when people ask me all the time, you know, my dogs are playing, and how do I know if it's good? How do I know if it's bad? Well, I have to see it and hear it to really know. But with these guys, I can tell you the things I look for and that I love about their play. They do that shake-off thing, right? So they'll play, and then they'll stop, and they'll both shake, which is like a dog's way of relaxing himself. And I love to see that. I also love to see that one chases one to the end of the yard, and then they come back, the other one's chasing the other one. That's really good too. And when they flip around, there's a misconception. When Rogie will lay down on the ground and Jammer will jump on him. That is not Rogie being submissive to Jammer. That is Rogie making the choice to roll over, and he has literally launched Jammer like feet. Like Jammer was not, and Rogie will kick his feet and Jammer will go, woo! Right? So you have to be kind of careful with regards to how we read their body language, right? Because just because Rogie lays down on purpose, sometimes to roll on Jammer and pin him to the floor, just because they do that, it doesn't mean one's submissive or not. Yes, ma'am? That's a really good question. We do both, and it depends on the dog, right? Some small dogs, Jammer, when he went to daycare, they put him in a group with dogs his size, and as you can tell, that didn't work out too good. They had to bump him up to the bigger dog to play, right? So we start with their own size, and we do different sexes. So we'll take a dog, like a boy, and introduce him to a girl, and then we'll do boy, and then we'll do a younger one or an older one, activity level. If the smaller dog is comfortable with the smaller dogs, then great. But the very best way to do play is to watch the other dog. So people will bring a dog in, and they may bring in, a 10-pound something, and they'll go through the shelter and pick that. And go, you have to bring your dog to our place so we can introduce them. Oh, I want Fifi. I want to go home with that dog. Great. So what we do is we watch Fifi. And so Roby comes in, and we take a look at Fifi, and if Fifi's like, hey, bring her on, this will be great, then we know, Fifi's comfortable as long as, Roby stays calm enough. So we always look at the other dog, which is why it's so important to make sure that they're able to walk around and approach if they want or back up if they want. You don't ever want to force them, because then you get a fake reading, right? So we start with small, and if they can handle it, because who knows, who's going to come into the shelter and want them. People make weird choices sometimes. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If you're doing the raw test,
Uh-huh.
how do you kind of try and make sure that if they do well and like that they're going to react that way with others and being towards trying?
Right. We don't.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry, yes. Her question, what are you doing? Don't eat that. Her question was really good. If the dog is good with rawhide being taken away, how do I know that he's going to be good with a wood chip or he's going to be good with a tissue out of the trash? I don't. And that's one of the things that, we can't possibly test with every single thing, which is why we try to pick something that is usually pretty high value for most dogs. But yeah, just like we can't, people will come in and say, I want a dog that's good with kids. Well, the best I can do is when my sociability test up here, I don't have little children that run around, I don't have little kids that run around my facility and I can't put little kids at risk, so I don't do that. So we do the best we can, and we take a detailed history from relinquishers too, if the dog's living with kids, But that's a really good question. We do the best we can. If we notice something, he's maybe doesn't want to get, we may test with something else, but in general, if he's good with dropping it, we say he's good. At least with that.
More questions?
Yes, ma'am?
Just curious, what kind of temperament testing do you do with cats?
Right now, it's only the medical. So we do the medical, which is, ears, nails, blood, feet, that kind of stuff. And so we try to get a feel for their hand mobility. We are talking about developing the same color code type system for cats, which is super important for cats because people don't think about cats in that way. And we're trying to do as much as we can to give cats personalities and let people know that cats have feelings too. Because honestly, length of stay for my dogs in the shelter is 5-ish, 7-ish, and I've got a lot more treatables. So 5 to 7 days, the average dog will stay in my shelter before he goes home. Not counting, Dr. Cece's treating heartworm, and then it takes forever. Oh, actually, we're putting those up now quicker. So really, dogs are in and out pretty quickly. Cats are the problem. So anything we can do right now to help move cats and convince people to adopt cats and love cats and know that cats are really cool. So that's our next step. That's a really good question.
Also because of how many of their behavioral problems.
Yep. It's because people don't know. They don't know how to react to what they see, too. You're absolutely right. That's a great question. Yes?
Loud, buddy. CJ will give you a barn pet.
I have a barn cat program right now. I wouldn't.
Wait a minute.
I have a barn on my website.
We got a barn cat.
So do we.
You want a barn cat?
It's on my website. it is really silly. And now, and it just went up like 3 days ago, and actually it's called hardworking cats, and we're trying to figure out a way to educate people because it's barns, it's warehouses, it's any place that a cat who maybe doesn't like to be hugged all the time can, really be a successful part of a family or a business. We are all about it. That's a really good question. We just changed that, so we're pretty proud of it.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
I have a couple of announcements. If I can get the microphone.
I want to thank everybody for attending. I hope that this has been thought-provoking. Our goal is not to make people comfortable, but to allow them to think outside the box. Just in case you're planning your 2016 or 2017 years now, next year, the Monday before Thanksgiving, we'll have Temple Grandin. We'll have Ed Pager, who's doing the work on the rodeo stock from the Calgary Stampede. And we'll have Rachel Turow, who will be doing veterinary forensics. And we will have a therapeutic riding demo. The scenario has not yet been created. We also have a cool group that's coming in 2017, so keep the Monday before Thanksgiving open. Thank you very much. It's been another pleasure.